What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Goat Talk. As usual, I'm here with Sal and Greg. Unfortunately, Chris cannot be here tonight because he is sick, but don't worry, he will be back. We got a lot to cover tonight, so let's get into it.
Chris on the IR tonight, boys. How we feeling? Monday after a weekend full of sports, feeling good.
Feeling good except for my 0-1 bald bet of the week. We're gonna
Yeah,
bounce back
let's
this week, though. I know it.
let's start off with that. So, Greg, you take Jets money line as your first Greg's bald bet of the week. We'll get into what your bet this week will be later on, but walk us through kind of yesterday. Watching the game, Jets were winning for a little bit, and then unfortunately not able to close it out. So walk us through how you were kind of feeling, knowing you took the money line, knowing we were going to talk about this today, and just your overall thoughts on the Jets.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to win a game when your quarterback throws for 45 yards in a single game, right? Like, and just be real here. I mean, the offense has been non-existent, right? Aside from week one, and that was when their defense was non-existent. It's been a train wreck of a season so far. I don't want to say push the blow-up button yet and tank it, but at the same time, they'd have to win a bunch of games in a row even to come back and make it remotely close for anything. So to say it's an uphill battle would be quite the understatement right now. But again, you know, they just look like they gave up. Right, I said it last week. I'll say it again. They just look like they don't care anymore. Unfortunately, and what's crazy to me is half these games they're in, and then they just fall apart at the end of it too. And there's just no fight once that happens, and
Yeah.
that's not winning football.
You look at a team like Denver, Joey, 9 sacks yesterday against Justin Fields, beat the Eagles the week before in more a little bit of a commanding fashion. Now take the Jets 13-11. What do you think? Is Denver one of those teams that we just kind of don't know about yet, too, or do you think it was more so the Jets yesterday?
I definitely agree when you say, it's more so that we don't know about them. Like, yes, their defense played great. They have a great defense, probably one of the top defenses in the league. 9 sacks, had them in fantasy. Love that for me. But then again, you look at it and what they put up 13 points. When you got Bo Nix, you got J.K. Dobbins, you got Cortland Sutton, you got Evan Ingram. They have the weapons, but I don't think we've truly seen enough out of their offense to really call them contenders right away. And also, they are in a tough division. So I do think it is, for now at least, I would say they are one of those teams that it's kind of week by week, and you can't really say or it's tough to say if they're good or not because you don't know what they're going to get every week.
Yeah. And, one of those things, too, I saw a stat, I'm pretty sure the total yards was -10 passing yards for Justin Fields, and they haven't had the NFL record is -54 passing yards in a game. So at least there wasn't any other records broken there, but -10 yards still is not good. Kind of sticking with the NFL, one of the headlines today on Monday, Titans fired their head coach Brian Callahan. He's out, first one gone on the year. They started off 1-5, 4-19 in his tenure as the Titans head coach. This is the fourth or fifth head coach in a row that has drafted a quarterback number one overall and then been fired the same season. Most recently, Matt Eberflus with the Chicago Bears. But Greg, turn to you first. You look at some of the other teams in the league that are 1-5. You got Miami, New Orleans, Cleveland, and Baltimore. Are any of the other coaches on the hot seat right now? If so, who's next? And then out of those other teams, or you could say the Titans too, who is the worst team besides the Jets in the NFL?
It's a tough say. I can tell you the team I'm most surprised with being 1-5 is the Ravens. That to me is still kind of mind blowing. With Lamar, there's no excuse if you have Lamar Jackson at QB to be 1-5. I know he's been hurt, but regardless, to me that's insanity. So that would be like my bold one. That's not my bald bet of the week, but the hot take would be if Harbaugh got fired. But I think it's way too early for that one. Clearly. Um, However, if you're looking, I'm looking right now at like the differential for points for and points against for each one. Crazily enough, the Jets aren't even in the top three for points differential. The team that clearly far and away right now is the worst to me is the Titans. Right, they have scored under 100 points this year, and they played 6 games, and they've given up over double that. So, to me, honestly, firing their coach, maybe it's a wake up call, maybe it's whatever, just kind of tank mode at this point. But yeah, them, the Browns, a bunch of these teams, a lot of 1-5 this year so far. So yeah.
Joey, your thoughts on the 1-5 teams? Who's next on the hot seat? Maybe, do you feel similarly with Greg and thinking still it's the Titans? Obviously, we know Ravens without Lamar Jackson, but who's your team that you kind of look to in the 1-5 grouping?
I definitely so at the bottom, I'm going to put the Titans. Absolutely. I know the Jets have not won a game, but I think Jets and Titans are the two worst. But then you also stay in the AFC East with Miami. Miami is a train wreck, especially after yesterday's games. Tua comes out and says that they have player only meetings where guys are showing up late and some players aren't even showing up at all. That's a huge problem if you're having player only meetings and people aren't even showing up. So I do think you put their coach on the hot seat. I think he gets fired this year. I do think he gets another job, not as a head coach. He goes somewhere to become an OC. Honestly, as much as I don't like him coaching the Dolphins and everything, I think wherever he becomes an OC, I think he's going to do a great job. I think somebody's going to get a great hire out of him because I do think he's a smart coach and he's very well football minded, just not as a head coach. But for sure, I would say he's on the hot seat, and I think he's next.
Mike McDaniel there in Miami definitely have had some struggles. Obviously, Tyreek Hill goes down early on in the year. Devon Achane really seems to be the only piece there that's gelling. Jalen Waddle really having a tough year, but kind of just capping off the Titans there. Vrabel and the Pats come in 4-2 this week in a Nissan Stadium. Going to be interesting there down in Tennessee. Interim OC Mike McCoy, who was previously the head coach of the Chargers from 2013 to 2016, will be taking over. So again, Tennessee, has been one of the, shockingly enough, a couple of years ago when Vrabel was gone after two AFC South titles, an AFC Championship game appearance, beat some good teams down the stretch in some postseason runs. They are out as head coach, and a new regime will now come in Tennessee. Another fact too, before we move on, I want to look at this. I saw this earlier today, and I wanted to kind of point it out with Tennessee. Since in the last 3 years, since dating back to 2022, their GM was fired. Then a month later, they hired a new GM. A year later, they fired Vrabel in 24. Then their AGM got promoted to president. Then Brian Callahan got hired as a head coach the same time the AGM was promoted after Vrabel went out in January of 2024. They had that GM that was hired in 2023 got fired not even 2 full years later. And then they hired a new GM and now a head coach fired. So they have not had any success after the Vrabel firing. So
Very difficult to win when it's a revolving door of front office people.
yes, 100%.
Yeah, and I think that definitely puts Cam Ward in a very difficult situation.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at, situationally, you talk about Cam Ward, but then you look to Spencer Rattler, right, with the Saints, and you think about how they're 1-5, coming in, offensive coordinator minded, and Kellen Moore had a lot of success with the Eagles the year before, had success with Dallas, just can't seem to get it going there too. So it'll be interesting to see how New Orleans plays things out. But turning the table from 1-5 to 5-1, staying with the NFL, we have two teams that have prevailed, and I think if anybody asked you at the beginning of the year, would you think that the Indianapolis Colts, for their best start since 2009 in the AFC, are the best team there and would be the number 1 seed? And then you look to the NFC where Tampa Bay is. Joey, looking at you first, are there any surprises here on either side with Tampa or the Colts? If there are, what kind of are you most surprised about? And then just kind of, where do you see things going forward?
I mean, without a doubt, I don't think anybody would have guessed the Colts to start out 5-1. They bring in Daniel Jones to kind of put some pressure on Anthony Richardson, and then it turns out that he wins the starting job. So now you go into week 1 with Daniel Jones as your starter, who we all know has not been the best in the past years with the Giants. And now they're starting 5-1. So now you got to question, was it really Daniel Jones or was it the Giants? Because he's playing great football right now. The thing is, though, in 2022 with the Giants, he started 5-1. They finished that season 3-6-1 for a total record of 9-7-1. So I know it's a complete different team, but can Daniel Jones keep it up? given Jonathan Taylor needs to stay healthy to be successful because as of right now, he's playing as the best running back in the league. He's an animal. But I think him staying healthy is a big key to their success. And then you jump over to Tampa Bay, 5-1. Baker right now, my opinion, MVP without a doubt. He's playing like an absolute animal, and personally, I think they're the best team in the league. You know, his worst game this year was Week 1 against the Falcons, which they escaped with the W. But you're still trying to get on the same page with this amazing rookie that they have now, who just got hurt this week. So that's tough to see. But they just won yesterday. He didn't have Mike Evans. He didn't have Chris Godwin. Ibuka got hurt. He didn't have Bucky Irving. He basically had none of his starters on offense, and yet they still go out and dominate. Without a doubt, in my opinion, they're the best team in the league, and Baker is playing at an MVP level.
Yeah, jumping off that, Joey. If I could criticize one thing about them right now, it's their defense isn't insanely good, and they're very pass heavy. But again, when you have Baker playing the way he is, that's okay. He can win like that. They've put up a lot of high scoring games this year. But what concerns me, like I said, is their defense. They let up 27 points to the Jets. You should never be doing that if you're playing the Jets. I'm sorry. That just can't happen, right? But having said that, they also have had a pretty difficult schedule in the first few games, and they've actually done pretty well. Aside from one loss to the Bills, right? They've beaten the Eagles, they've beaten the 49ers. They've beaten some decent teams, right? And then they have no easier task next week when they're going to be playing the Lions. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Baker Mayfield right now is a man on a mission. 12 touchdowns, 1 pick. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and that's without, as we talked about, Mike Evans, Bucky Irving, Ibuka goes down. So we'll be interested to see. Colts defensively, I think they're a couple pieces away. Michael Pittman's kind of quietly having an okay year. It just kind of, we'll see how things play out. And then just, to kind of cap off the NFL before we move on from it, Rico Dowdle is having an immense last couple of weeks. Plays the Cowboys this past week, goes for over 175 scrimmage yards. I believe the week prior he went over 200 and something scrimmage yards. He deserves to start. I don't know why the Cowboys let him go. One man's garbage is another man's treasure, I guess. And here is now, Cowboys viewed him not to be a playable aspect, and now he's able to play. So Panthers might have found somebody, and Dave Canales there as their head coach, and as they get to 500 for, I want to say, the first time since Cam Newton's second stint with the Panthers when they played the 8-1 Cardinals. And I don't remember what year that was, but I know that's when the last time they were 500. So quite the NFL Sunday. Anybody have anything else to add from the NFL yesterday before we pivot?
Yeah, just sticking with Rico real quick. Playing amazing. Obviously, we've seen it the past 2 weeks. He's a great running back. But you go on Twitter, and as a fantasy football aspect and everything, I know people are saying that once Chuba comes back, Rico's got to start. I don't necessarily agree with that, only because look at the Lions. Gibbs and Demont. It's a two-headed monster. Why would you just call for Rico to start right off the bat? Why not run both of them? It's working for the Lions. I don't understand why you would just say Chuba's got to be benched. You got to run both of them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of truth, in my opinion, to running Dowdle over Hubbard. Now, I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he gives you what Rico gives you. And we've seen that in the last couple of weeks. Now, I'm not saying that they can't turn into a Sonic and Knuckles type deal like how Detroit has with Gibbs and Montgomery, but I just don't think you see that everywhere, right? And I think in similar conversations, with the Vikings, everyone's talking about, who's going to start? Should it be JJ when he comes back no matter what? Do you ride the hot hand with Wentz? I feel like with quarterbacks, sometimes it's a little different rather than running backs, right? You need them to develop develop. So, like, in my opinion, as a Vikings fan, you have to put JJ back in there. You need to see what he's worth. You can't waste 2 years on his rookie contract. You need to see that. From a running back perspective, though, like, you've been able to see Rico not only on your team, but off your team. And you've been able to see Chuba on your team and not off your team, just really off your team while not playing. And I just alluded to, like, maybe they scheme better with him and it opens the passing game. Because if you think about it, in the years previous when Hubbard's there, they're so reliant on the run game, it doesn't get going, and Young gets into trouble, forcing the ball, force mistakes. I mean, Tet McMillan yesterday's wide open, a couple other guys. I don't know the Panthers wide receiving core, so if any Panthers fans are listening, I apologize, but I'm not a Panthers guru, so I don't know for certain. And I need to just allude to right now that Dawson Knox just got a touchdown, and that is massive because I started him in fantasy and he wasn't supposed to start, and I might win this week now because of that. And I can't believe that just happened. So, live action call.
And I was gonna say something before that. Sorry if I'm a little distracted tonight. I'm watching the game and doing some hand motions. I know I did a little fist pump before because the first play of the game, Bijan fumbled and it was offside on the defense. So I kept it. I bit my tongue. I kept it inside. Kept the emotions good until we're off the call. But yeah, I definitely would have been screaming if we were not on this right now.
So yeah, that's just some live reactions. Obviously this isn't live, but pre-recorded. But anyway, so now we flip to Greg. I flip to you in the college football landscape of things. Talked about the NFL, kind of got some of the headlines there. Biggest news out of college football this weekend. James Franklin out as head coach at Penn State. $50 million buyout. Penn State's now looking for a head coach after losing the last 3 games, I believe. Last week to UCLA, who was winless. Then this week to Northwestern. What does Penn State do here? Who do they go after? And was this the right move?
So to start off, I don't know who they go after personally. I don't have an answer for that honestly. But in terms of being the right move, something's got to light a fire under their asses at this point, right? I mean, they're way too talented to be playing like this, right? Like, this is supposed to be a top 3 team in college football. And losing 3 straight is unacceptable. Probably unranked now, if I would assume, right?
Yeah.
So, like, where you go from here, you find somebody, whether it be an interim coach for the year, maybe it'll give them a spark. But at this point, man, they could probably kiss their hopes of college playoffs goodbye, right? So not probably, they can. It's gone.
Yeah.
Where you go from here is just try and build some momentum for next season, because unfortunately, no matter what happens now, season's kind of, GG's.
I mean, it's done even with, the unfortunate news coming out of the weekend, too, surrounding Penn State. Drew Aller, their starting quarterback, goes down. Awful injury. His season's done. So on top of that, now your backup quarterback's in. Your head coach is gone. You're in the thick of playing the Big Ten schedule, which is a gauntlet this year. At 3 losses, there's no hope for college playoffs. And Joey, turning to you, sticking with the Big Ten, look at Indiana going into Eugene, Oregon, 6-0. Curt Cignetti's got that team fired up, number 3 team in the country right now. Is Indiana the real deal?
Yeah, I think they are. And I'll dive into that, but sticking with James Franklin for a second, I said it last week, and I'll say it again. I'm not surprised because, like I said last week, he couldn't win the big games. You look at his record with Penn State since he became the head coach, he's 4-21 against top 10 teams. He's 1-18 against top 10 Big Ten teams in conference games. He went 1-10 against Ohio State and 3-7 against Michigan. Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. You always think of Big Ten; those are the top 3 teams without a doubt. He had obviously clearly can't beat the other 2. So that's a big problem. But 4-21 against top 10 teams in general. Said it last week, he could not win the big game. So this firing does not come as a surprise to me. Jump into Indiana. This was their biggest win, without a doubt. Week 1, they beat Old Dominion. Week 2, Kennesaw State. Week 3, Indiana State. Week 4, Illinois. Week 5, Iowa. Week 6, Oregon. This was a game that you come in at Oregon. They haven't played anybody good yet. Are they the real deal? They go out on the road and beat Oregon by 10. I think this just proves that, yes, they are the real deal. Are they the best team in the Big Ten? No, I'm not going to say that. I still think Ohio State is better than them. I think Ohio State is the best team in the country. But they just proved that they are one of the top teams, and they're going to make a run at the playoffs. They probably will, after this win, they'll probably definitely make the playoffs. But I think the Big Ten championship, if you have Indiana, Ohio State, I think it's going to be a lot better game than people expect.
Yeah, absolutely. I think college football is getting interesting. All of us, including Chris, when he is here, don't know a ton about college football. I'm in a state of Cornhusker. Joey is a Georgia fan, and Greg's in, doesn't really have any allegiance. I don't have any either, but Nebraska is the big thing here. So I guess we'll just kind of see how it plays out. We'll continue to keep everyone updated on that. Couple more things here. Greg and Joey, now we turn to the MLB. We are obviously removed from the divisional series. We go to the ALCS and the NLCS, where Seattle and the Jays and the Brewers and the Dodgers. Seattle won last night, currently up during this episode 6-3 as of last that we had looked at. 9-3 now.
Wow.
And last night, only one run for the Jays on the first pitch of the game, the first at bat by George Springer, and then nothing then. So if Seattle can win both of these games, fellas, in my opinion, I think it might be a sweep of the series for Seattle. As far as Brewers Dodgers, I think 97.8% of the country is on Brewers. I could be wrong, but I feel like all of us on this call are probably rooting for the Brewers at least. What are both of your thoughts and how whoever wants to go first, just kind of on this LCS series in total?
I want to start this because I have a question for the both of you that I'll get into. But the way that the Mariners got here is crazy. Them in Detroit, they go to Game 5. Game 5 went, I think it was 15 innings, I believe. It was an incredible game. They get the walk-off. They move on. They're about to be up 2-0 on the Toronto. My question for you guys. If the Yankees would have beaten Toronto, do you think you would have beaten Seattle, or do you think you would have at least made it a series?
Listen, I mean, the way we played Toronto, I think the White Sox would have beat us. We played them so badly. But in all honesty, right, we usually play Seattle pretty well. Judge usually absolutely mashes there. Then again, it's the playoffs, so you don't know with him sometimes. But my bias wants to say, yeah, it would have been a better series. But honestly, right now, Seattle just looks really good. I know they took them to 5, but that might have been the spark they needed by beating Detroit in that many innings to just kind of get them going. We've seen that with teams. My first thing I think of, right, is the 2019 Nationals, right? They play the Brewers in the wild card game. That ball gets through Trent Grisham, who's now a Yankee. And they win that wild card game, beat the Dodgers in one of the playoff series, go to the World Series, take I would argue, a top 5 rotation of all time in the Astros to 7 games and win it in Houston. So, and Chris has always alluded to this, right? It's not always the best record that wins the World Series. Usually it's not. It's a team that's hot at the right time. And that's what it comes down to, I think, right now.
I agree.
Yeah, I think similarly in my aspect, I look to the Yankees just have a lot of hitting problems. I think we really didn't dive into it, but their plate discipline through the latter half of the season and into the playoffs has just been awful. You look at the Blue Jays pitching in Game 4, and no pitcher threw more than 30 pitches the entire game, and they used 7 pitchers. And they only used 7 pitchers not because they needed to, because they wanted to, because they had the ability to. And why wouldn't you? I mean, if you're any team in the playoffs and you have an ability to put the series away, why not throw a starter out there for an inning, a half inning, just because you could, because you're up and you have them where you want them. I think the Yankees have a lot of work to do in the offseason. I mean, you saw Cody Bellinger isn't going to automatically come back. He's going to be a free agent. I think Seattle's played really well down the stretch. I think even though the Yankees have had their fair share of success there recently, I mean, you can't take away what Cal Raleigh's been able to do. Randy Arozarena is there. He's had playoff experience with Tampa. I don't know a ton about every playoff baseball team's roster, but I don't think the Yankees would have won this anyway. The only thing they would have had up on them was the home field advantage, which maybe that would have been okay as the 3 seed, but I don't really know for sure if that would have made a difference. And I mean, and you talk about weird things and weird plays, and you look at the Dodgers Phillies. I mean, the guy doesn't make the throw to home, and what about that? I mean, Phillies can be
Yeah.
weird. I mean, so it's another play where you're like, what could have happened if? And I think if it's Phillies Brewers, I think Phillies beat the Brewers. I mean, I truly do. I think it is. So I mean, interesting to see how it'll play out, but definitely some weird scenarios in the divisional series across the board.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about that play that sends the Dodgers to the championship series, I mean, you look at the picture, JT Realmuto standing on home plate, just pointing at first to go to first. He gets the guy out. They go into extra innings. Obviously, it's a lot easier said being here than being in that moment. And, you got to react quickly. And he tried to make a play at home. Then you got to feel bad for the kid. He's a young kid, especially being in Philly's sports town. I could only imagine the messages he's getting. I could only imagine the letters are being sent to him and everything. You gotta feel bad for the kid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll see how things play out. By the time we talk this time next week, we could have the World Series matchup, so be something to look at. But before we close it out, typically we look at Thursday night football, but it's not really that great of a matchup. So, Greg, as always, it is going to be time for Greg's Bald Bet of the Week. And Greg, what is it this week before we close out?
So this week on the Bald Bet of the Week, hold on. Perfect. Anyway, Bald Bet of the Week, right? Involves college football, baby. Penn State winning by 30 this week.
Oh my God.
I think so. That's my hot take. They're
Who
going to
do
come
they
out.
play?
They are playing, I believe, Iowa. Maybe it's not Iowa. Let me double check. I know it's not a ranked team. I know that for a fact right now. And again, these takes are meant to be, a gimme. That would defeat the purpose, right? Listen, Sal, you can laugh all you want. I could care less. I'm telling you my prediction right now. Penn State gets a W by 30 points. All right? They can do it. They have the power to do it. All right? So you want to hate all you want? All good. Just know this, Sal. When that happens next week, I don't want to hear a word about me being wrong. They are playing Iowa. Iowa is 4-2. They are also unranked. They play it Saturday at 7 o'clock, right? I don't care if their quarterback's gone. No quarterback, no problem. They should be okay. I think a fire could be lit.
Is it in Penn State?
No.
So it's at Iowa. So you're going to tell me Penn State, the Nittany Lions, are going to go into Iowa and beat Kirk Ferentz on Saturday night by 30. Greg, if that happens, I will personally Venmo you $30 for every point that you think they win by. You heard it here first. I will Venmo you $30 if Penn State wins by 30 because I'm so confident that won't happen.
If it's by 29, it better be $29. So I'm going to say about that.
No, it's only by 30. It's only by 30. But
all right, man. Well, hey, the
we'll,
ball bet.
We'll see.
First week was a fluke. We got it. We're good.
Sure.
I love it.
Wow. I mean, just back-to-back bold bets of the week.
If I go over 2, I'm rethinking and go back to the drawing board.
If you go over 2, people watching just start fading Greg. Whatever Greg takes, just take the opposite.
Fading worse
we'll
than
make
this?
Winners.
I can't see that happening. Can't fade.
We'll make winners out here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that was a good episode. Hey, also, this will be coming out Wednesday night, so be sure every Thursday night, new thing we're going to do is TikTok live. during every Thursday night football game first half. 3 of us were on for a little bit last time, so be sure to tune in, and Joey, close us out.
Yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. If you're new here, welcome aboard. Keep following along for the journey. If you're returning, thank you guys for always coming back to watch. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we're only up from here.